This week, my office released new data on our response to the ongoing gun violence gripping our community. Today, I'm providing the community with perspectives from people in my office who are working on these criminal investigations every day and who are supporting the victims of gun violence. The gun violence happening in Multnomah County is not isolated to just one neighborhood. It impacts all of us. It's our duty, and one that I take very seriously, to respond to gun violence. My office continues to partner with public health officials, nonprofit organizations, faith leaders, and law enforcement to respond with urgency to the surge. Among that response must be a dedicated and coordinated effort that provides support and services to those impacted by gun violence. Here now to talk about one of our recent cases is Deputy District Attorney Kate Molina.
Thank you, DA Schmidt. Hi, my name is Kate Molina, and I'm a Deputy District Attorney assigned to the Gun Violence Unit here at the DA's office. Our office is responsible, along with the Medical Examiner's Office, to oversee all criminal homicide investigations being conducted by law enforcement. That means we typically always respond to homicide scenes and are working these priority investigations step by step with our local law enforcement partners. Recently, I was assigned a triple shooting that resulted in a homicide after multiple rounds were fired. That investigation is ongoing, and while detectives have made significant progress after talking with witnesses and reviewing forensic evidence, no arrests have been made. There is no typical homicide investigation. Each is handled with extreme care and attention to detail. On my recent homicide, I spent 6 hours at the crime scene working with detectives, and I am in regular contact with the lead detective. These investigations are extremely taxing for everyone involved. You will never get used to going to an autopsy and seeing a person's life cut short because of gun violence. And while this is just one of my cases, every day the talented and professional attorneys in this office are reviewing police reports and prosecuting other gun crimes, such as felons in possession of a firearm, unlawful use of a weapon, and domestic violence crimes that involve firearms. As DA Schmidt has said, this is an all-hands-on-deck moment, and the Multnomah County District Attorney's Office remains committed to prosecuting the gun violence and supporting crime victims with intentionality and through trauma-informed and victim-centered practices.
Thank you, Kate. I appreciate the work you and the other Deputy District Attorneys in our office are doing on these cases, and I know law enforcement and our community does as well. Next, I want to introduce Chanel Thomas, who is a victims advocate in our office. Chanel currently has 7 homicide cases assigned to her. Chanel, please tell us about your work as a victim advocate.
Thank you, DA Schmidt. Hi, my name is Chanel Thomas, and I'm a victim advocate with the District Attorney's Office. My job as a victim advocate is to support victims of crime. As a major crimes victim advocate, I work with the survivors of domestic violence, sexual assault, and gun violence. What we're going through is unlike anything most Portlanders and people in Multnomah County have seen in recent memory. Everything that we have relied on to support victims of gun violence and to prevent that violence has been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. Whether that's funding resources to help victims of gun violence, or resources that are supposed to prevent gun violence from happening in the first place. As a victim advocate, I've seen personally the awful and devastating impact of gun violence. I work with mothers, fathers, sons, and daughters who will never see their loved ones again. The trauma and emotions these families experience is impossible to describe. But as victim advocates, we show up every day. We come to work hoping there isn't a new case file on our desks. But when there is, we're ready. We will always be here to offer support to victims of gun violence and their families, often just hours after a shooting or a homicide has taken place. And to the families who have been impacted by gun violence, know this: you will always be heard, supported, and looked after for. We are committed to our mission of helping you.
Thanks, Chanel. Victim advocacy will always remain a top priority for me. Our victim advocates are incredibly talented and compassionate and supportive of each other as they manage the secondary trauma associated with each of these cases, whether it's a homicide, an attempted murder, or a house being shot up. As district attorney, public safety will always be my first and foremost priority. We all have an interest in stopping gun violence. Our community demands it. The mothers and fathers of those who have lost their sons and daughters demand the gun violence to stop immediately. My office remains committed to working with everyone who wants to be a part of the solution to gun violence, and our efforts to prosecute these crimes continues every day. If you have information about a recent or past gun crime in Multnomah County, please contact Crime Stoppers of Oregon. Remember, you can always remain anonymous.